name is Deb, and this is the Sensible Stitcher podcast. This is episode 3. Welcome to anyone who has come back for the third time. Thank you. If there is anybody, and if you're new here, thank you also as well, and welcome to you. I am a sewer, knitter, sometime crocheter living in the west side of Michigan. And you can find me online at The Sensible Stitcher on Instagram. I'm Deb, Mom of 3, the number 3, on Ravelry. And there's also a Sensible Stitcher Facebook page as well. And all those links will be in the show notes for you. So to start off with today, I have a finished object for you. First one of the podcast. I have finished the socks that I was making from the Uneek yarn, the Urth, I don't know, URTH yarn from Uneek, UNEEK yarns. Sock blockers here. I did these, I did the German short row heel with the mini heel flap adjustment from Knitting Expat. That's my go-to heel. I did an 80 stitch sock. Yes, 80. I know I have wide feet and I don't like tight socks. So I'm also a tight knitter. So I tend to do 80 stitch, 76 stitch socks. Sometimes it just kind of depends on the yarn and the needles and what kind of gauge I seem to be getting. So 80 stitches on these. The only thing that's a little bit odd, you can kind of see here, I did not do any color management when it came to putting the heel in. So I actually kind of like how it worked out with this one little line of blue and then the one little line of green. That's just how it naturally worked out on the instep side after I put the heel in. So yeah, I don't think that looks bad at all. And then it went up through started off in this kind of light blue gray, then it went to the darker blue kind of tan, then to the green, and then up here into a reddish and green. I'm not really sure how to describe the colors, but I like how they turned out. They are pretty matchy. I think they might have been off by like half a round, but in any case, they are done and ready for the fall. I had just a little bit left. These two little balls are all that I had left. I used 89 grams of the yarn for these, so just about all of it, but I have a little bit. So yeah, that's the first thing I've finished in a while. However, I do have some new cast ons, so let's get to the current knitting projects. The first one, I have moved to a new bag because it's grown a little bit. This is my Aptika Sweater by Isabel Kramer, and last you saw it, I had just split for the sleeves and done like maybe three rounds, I think. So I've done a little ways down the body here now. Show you there. I'm still alternating skeins, and it has you go straight for about 3 inches down, and then it has you do some body increases. I know, increases, not decreases. I'm not sure, but I'll go with it. That's what the pattern calls for. So that's what these progress keepers are for, is tracking, because it has you do it by not number of rows, but by length, like every 2 1/4 inches. So I have this little progress keeper from Adornit, little gnome, which I love. And then I didn't have another fancy one handy, so I just have this little one there. So yeah, it's moving along. I really need to take it off the needles and try it on at some point here. I think just by looking at it, I think it's going to fit all right, but I still would like to try it on just to know for sure. So that is the Aptika Sweater. The yarn I'm using for this is Malabrigo Arroyo in the colorway Reflecting Pool. And I am knitting it on size 6 needles, 4.0 millimeter. And it's just in a, not any special bag, just a string backpack. So then next I have the socks that I had showed you last time, and these are West Yorkshire Spinners in the Robin colorway. They're sock yarn it's one of the Country Birds colorways. I've made quite a bit of progress on these as well, so this is where they are right now. These are also 80 stitch socks, and I am just about ready to put the heels in. I have done the increases for the mini heel flap adjustment. I'm going to use the same heel that I used on the previous socks. However, I do believe that I have a red in the West Yorkshire Spinners that I used on a previous project. So I want to dig out that skein of red, make sure it matches this red, and then use that as an alternating color for the heels. I think that would really pop, having a red in here. So yeah, I got a lot of work done on these at marching band competition a couple weeks ago. I got almost a full repeat done that day. I like to knit at marching band competitions because it gives my hands something to do while I'm watching bands. And it's this time of year, it's definitely cool enough out that I don't have any problem having wool in my hands. So yeah, those are coming along. The next time you see them, they will have heels and hopefully be well along the way to being finished. And those are in one of my wee bra bags that I'd made a long time ago, I think before I even had the Etsy shop. All right, so then new cast-ons. I have one pair of socks and one hat, so I will show you the socks first. This is a skein of yarn. I also have a little bit of a yarn purchase, some stash enhancement to show you a little bit later, but this was one of those. This is a skein of yarn from Fibernyph Dyeworks in her Traveler base. This is a sport weight yarn, and this is in her Dark and Stormy colorway. This is a pair of socks that I am making for my friend Christy. She is knitworthy. I've made her one pair of socks already. This is the second pair. She has some issues and has cold feet, so that's why I'm making sport weight socks for her. Keep her feet warm. These are 64 stitch socks. Again, it's a sport weight yarn, and I'm doing these on size 1.5 needles, which is 2.5 millimeter. So got a little ways done on these. Just working my way up towards the foot. I'm not sure, or towards the heel. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet heel wise for these. I may do an afterthought heel, or I think I will go through my, sorry for the ums. I will go through my minis that I have from Fibernyph Dyeworks. I have some from her, and see if I have any of these colors in a mini. And if I do, then I'll use that as an alternating, as a color for the heel, and then do the German short row heel that I usually do. If not, then I'll do I just said it too. Yeah, I'll do the, words are not coming to me right now, and I just said it. I will put in the afterthought heel. Thank you, that's the word. Okay, yes, so Dark and Stormy socks coming along. And this is another one of my wee bra bags that I made, I think right when I started the Etsy shop. But I liked these fabrics so much I kept one for myself because they're nice autumny leaves or trees and pumpkins. And then on the inside it's got that kind of gold. So next, and this bag, this was my prototype for the simple sock bags. So the fabrics don't match at all, and it's got a bead on it instead of a cord lock, because I didn't have the cord locks yet, but I may as well use it because it's a perfectly good bag. So this is a hat that I started recently. Sorry, I got a cable needle in there. So this is the Traveler hat, and I don't have who it's by. I'll put it in the show notes. It is, the yarn is West Yorkshire Spinners fleece, DK, so it is Blueface Leicester, and it's in their colorway brown, makes sense. And then this hat it's a cabled hat, so you can see I've got one set of cable crosses there. I'm already up to where I'll do the next set, so I'm just kind of working through here. And it's got a 2x2 rib on it. It calls for size 6 and size 4 needle, size 4 for the rib. I couldn't find a 16-inch needle in a size 4, so I just used the size 5 on the ribbing, and then went up to the size 6 for the rest of the hat. And again, I'm using a stitch marker from Adorn It. I like her stitch markers a lot, and I've watched Steph's podcast for a long time, way back when she was started off as the Expectant Knitter, so that was a long time ago, but I enjoy watching her, so, and buying stuff from her shop as well. So yeah, this is the Traveler hat again, and it feels like it's going to be a nice warm hat. I really like this yarn. It's soft, but it's also kind of sheepy feeling. You know, you can tell it's a nice natural woolly wool. So yeah, so that is everything that I currently have on the needles. I have no crochet projects on the needles. I haven't started anything new. My thought is to kind of look for a Christmas type project that can make little Christmas ornaments or toys or something that I can use as Christmas gifts to crochet this year. So I'm still doing a little bit of research. Once I have some ideas in mind, I'll share those with you, but I haven't gotten that far yet. So we're getting a little closer to Christmas. Not quite to Halloween yet, but we'll get there. It's October 26th. I don't think I said that at the beginning. I did take a week off. I had some technical issues when I posted the last episode, so that one went up late. And then last Tuesday, I normally record these on Tuesdays. Last Tuesday, I had to drive my oldest back to college a couple hours away, so I didn't have time to record that day. And then the next day, I had a bad headache that lasted for a few days, and by that point, I figured I may as well just wait till the following Tuesday and record now. So it's actually been 3 weeks between recordings this time instead of 2. So I think I mentioned stash enhancement a little bit ago, so I'll show you those now. I made an order, actually 2 orders, with Fibernyph Dyeworks, one of my favorite indie dyers. And actually her podcast, 90% Knitting, was the very first knitting podcast that I ever found and watched. So I've watched that for a very long time and greatly enjoy watching her. I ordered the Dark and Stormy yarn for my friend Christy's socks, and then she had a shop update with what she calls some Serendipitous Stripe skeins. So I bought a couple of those. This one is on her Bona Fide base, which is a DK base, and it's in her Fide pattern. I have not bought any of her Fide patterns before, but I like the idea of them, so I'm kind of excited, and I liked the colors in this one. I'm thinking this may also be a hat, maybe a cowl, I'm not sure. I won't make socks out of it because it's 100% merino. I don't know that this base is the best for socks. It's also DK, and I really don't want to make DK socks, so I'm thinking hat for this. Then the other Serendipitous Stripes I bought, this was the one that I really liked, is in her cozy base. So this is a worsted base, also 100% merino. This is, again, it's Serendipitous Stripes, so there's no colorway name, but it's grays with the red here. I'm also thinking hat probably for this one, or cowl. My other idea, and I would have to see again what I have in minis or in contrasting colors, but one of the things I've had in the back of my mind that I would like to make is the Millie Margaret shawl by Jennifer Lassonde from Dawn Seller Studio, and that takes a skein of self-striping, and she does have a worsted weight version of that shawl. So this may be that. Actually, I think that's more likely. I would just need to figure out, for that shawl, you put a contrasting color in the middle of it, contrasting or coordinating, but you use a solid and then have the self-striping on the ends. So yeah, I'll have to think about that a little bit more, but that's probably what this will be. And then third, this is in her bronzed sparkle base, and you probably can't really see the sparkle. It's really hard to see even in person. It's very subtle, but this is her deep fall colorway. It's a 5 striper, and I just really like these colors, so this will be socks for sure at some point. So yeah, so that is it for knitting and yarn related content. So we'll move on to sewing. I have a few, grab these here, sorry. I have a few bags that have gone up in the shop in the last few weeks that I can show you. The first one is a zippered bag, and it's got a little, this is the Progress Keeper zipper pull that I made for it. It kind of looks a little bit closest I could get to a pumpkin. The fabric on the inside is the gold with the pumpkins. And then this one also has the interior zippered pocket that I've been adding to most of my zippered bags. And yeah, so there's 2 of these in the shop right now. And then coordinating with that is the simple sock bag that I've done in the same fabric, that same goldish pumpkin on the inside. And this one has the, you know, the drawstring with the cord lock. So there are a couple of those in the shop. Then I think there are a couple of these as well, sunflowers, also kind of very autumny feel. The lining on this one is a brown with these gold polka dots. I really love how these 2 fabrics coordinate, the brown with the sunflowers. So then there's a couple of bags, again, the drawstring with the cord lock, the simple sock bag. And then actually 2 more. So this is some Halloween fabric that I had a little bit of leftover. So I only have 1 of these in the shop, but it's got the witches with the, it's kind of a sparkly gold moon, and then the white stars. And then on the inside, I don't know how well you can see this, but it's like spooky forest with a few bats. Let's see if I can find a bat. There's a bat right there that you can see. So that's the interior fabric. Like I said, there's 1 of these. This is the only one in the shop. And then lastly, I really love this fabric. I wasn't going to make any more fall bags, but I found this and I had to have it and I had to make some. So this is kind of autumn leaf colors. And then the inside of this, it's the same brown with gold polka dots as in the other bag, the sunflower bag. So there's a couple of these in the shop as well. Next on my, and next on the sewing machine is going to be holiday, Christmas, winter themed bags. I have one that started, if I can reach, sorry, across here. This is a zippered bag that I'm going to be making. So this is as far as I've gotten so far, but this is in process, so should be in the shop soon. And after that, I've got, I'll just keep working through and making some fun options for Christmas, winter. Might even have some Hanukkah fabric left, so I will look for that. And yeah, that's everything that is in the shop. Oh, actually, sorry. One other thing, I did put a few scrunchies in the shop with the sunflower fabric. So I thought I would just kind of show you guys, this is what my scrunchies look like. They work really well. My daughter Hannah wears hers around her wrist, or I'm not even going to try to put this in my hair. Believe me, you don't want me to do that right now. So yeah, there are a few of these in the shop as well in the sunflower fabric. Okay, so excuse me. So one thing that I wanted to, I thought I could talk about is why I knit my socks 2 at a time toe up. Kind of give you a little bit of history of my sock knitting. So when I first learned to knit socks, I learned on double pointed needles because I didn't know how to magic loop yet, and I knit 1 sock at a time, cuff down. And that pair of socks did not turn out very well. Obviously they were my first socks, but they were fine. And from there I learned magic loop very quickly after that. And so for a little while I knit socks 1 at a time, cuff down, magic loop, and that was fine. But I tend to end up with second sock syndrome, and it's not so much that I don't want to knit another sock. It's I don't like knitting the same project twice. You know, same, not just the same project, but the same exact needles, the same exact yarn. And when you're knitting two socks, it's essentially you're knitting two projects one right after another. So I thought, I'd seen that you could knit two at a time magic loop. I bought a book about how to do it. I watched some YouTube videos. It took a lot of practice to get down because there's a lot to keep track of. You're keeping track of two separate yarns. It's the cord twists a lot, especially if you're doing cuff down, trying to cast on and keep track of, you know, both cuffs until they get a little bit of weight on them. And that was fine. I didn't have any problem knitting my socks two at a time, cuff down, once I got the hang of it. But I like learning new things, and so I thought, well, you know, there's this toe up version. Let's see, let's just learn toe up and see if I, you know, can do that. Saw it as a challenge. So I did my first sock toe up, just a single sock, magic loop. And I do the Judy's Magic Cast On and then toe increases. And I really liked the toe up. I like that. I like the Judy's Magic Cast On. I like how that looks in a toe better than when I Kitchener a toe doing cuff down. I like the toe increases. I like casting off at the top. I like the fact that I can use as little or as much of the yarn as I want. I can make the sock as tall as I want and decide that at the end instead of having to decide that at the beginning of the sock. So I can try it on as I go. I know exactly how much yarn I'm going to have left. I can make that decision like with the other pair of socks I was knitting. I knew, you know, this was what I had left when I was done, and I knew that I had enough yarn for the side. I like making socks with a bit longer cuffs. And so I knew I would have enough yarn left for that. So moving from one at a time toe up to two at a time toe up really wasn't that difficult because I already knew how to do two at a time. And actually I have found, at least for me, it's easier to manage two Judy's Magic Cast-Ons and two toes on the long cable for magic loop than it is to deal with casting on cuffs and managing the yarn and the needles two at a time for cuffs. So I really am in a pretty good groove now in terms of starting my socks and knitting them two at a time toe up, and that's what I prefer. So again, I can make them cuff down, I can make them one at a time, I can make them on double points. I have made, you know, I'll make them one at a time if I'm using a sock blank, unless I have a double knit sock blank, but I've made them one at a time on a sock blank fairly recently. The other thing I like about making them two at a time is I can make them exactly the same without having to remember what I did from one sock to the next. So I know, okay, if I'm going to put the heel in here, I'm putting it in the same place on both socks without having to either go back and count rows or try to remember what I did. I mean, for self-striping yarn like this, it's fairly easy. I can say, oh, yep, in the middle of this stripe. But if you're doing non-self-striping yarn, trying to figure out, okay, you know, trying to measure how far, exactly where did I put in the sock, especially if it takes me a while or there's a distance between, you know, when I did the first sock and when I do the second sock, I might not remember what I did with the second sock. So I like the two at a time because they turn out pretty close to identical. I tend to be, and I don't know why this is, but I tend to run about a half a round off on my two at a time. This one's actually pretty, well, yeah, you can see here, this one switched over from green to the gray here, and this one didn't switch over to the gray until right at the very end here. So again, not quite half a round off, but close. Not sure why that is. No clue if it's just something about the way that maybe I knit a little bit tighter on one sock than the other, but you know, again, looking at them, I don't think you can really tell that there's much of a difference, and I don't really care. They look close enough for me. So I am pretty happy with that. So yeah, that is just a little bit of background about why I knit my socks that way. It's just my preferred way. There are so many different ways to knit socks. I mean, just between the podcasters that I either listen to or watch, I know some who knit toe up, some who knit cuff down, some who knit one at a time, two at a time, double pointed needles, two circular needles. There's so many different ways, which makes it awesome because you can customize exactly what works best for you, which is what's perfect about knitting. Because I mean, at the end of the day, however you knit them, you have a pair of socks, and that's what matters. So then just kind of life update. What am I reading? Well, I finished, I think, everything that I was reading in the Heralds of Valdemar series, series of series, her Valdemar books by Mercedes Lackey. I finished the Family Spies trilogy that I was reading last time. I read the standalone book, Brightly Burning, which I read before, so I reread that. And then I read the Owl trilogy, which I hadn't read before either. Those three books are Owl Sight, Owl Flight, and Owl Night. And so I read those. And I think with that, I have now read or reread all of her Valdemar books, so I am all caught up there. I'm also still reading the second book in the Ember and the Ashes series by Saba Tahir, called A Reaper at the Gates. I am still working my way through that one and enjoying it. I believe there's 2 books left in the series after this one. And then I'm also reading Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo. It's the first book in her Six of Crows duology in the Grishaverse. Shadow and Bone that's the first trilogy. And then I believe there's also a Netflix show based on both Shadow and Bone and the Six of Crows duology. So I haven't watched the series yet. I'm waiting until I finish the duology. My daughter Hannah is the one who's gotten me into these books. Actually, my youngest Becca has read the Six of Crows books, not Six of Crows, the Shadow and Bone books also. So, and Hannah just raved about the TV show. So I'm kind of excited to finish the duology so I can watch that and see what that's all about. Let's see, what else? Haven't really exercised much lately. It was hot and sticky, and now it's been cold and rainy. And honestly, I'm just having a really hard time getting up the motivation to go out and walk. Actually, today is probably the best day we've had in a while. It's cool, it's in the low 50s, but it's sunny, and it's been a while since we've had a really sunny day like this. We've had a lot of rain this fall. So who knows, maybe I'll get myself motivated and go out for a walk later. Family-wise, everything's good with the kids. Becca's been really busy with marching band. We've had the last 3 Saturdays have been taken up with marching band stuff, and then we have another competition this coming Saturday. They're doing well. I believe they are in their flight. They're currently 3rd in the state. And yeah, she's getting a little burned out. I think this is a really lot of marching band in a very short amount of time right now in October with all the competitions. So I think she'll be glad when it's over for the season, but I know that she's been enjoying it. I've had to get her saxophone worked on, so she was using a loaner for a week, which she wasn't enjoying, but she has hers back now, so that is good. Then the other 2 kids, Finn was home, not this past weekend, for 4 or 5 days for fall break, it was nice to have Finn home. It was a little odd not to have Hannah home also. We don't usually have just Finn and Becca home with Hannah gone. I drove to Ann Arbor to pick Finn up and was able to have dinner with both Finn and Hannah and my brother who lives nearby and his girlfriend. So that was really nice to be able to see all of them and have a dinner together. And then I brought Finn home, and Finn was home for, let's see, that was a Thursday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And then last Tuesday, a week ago, like I said, I drove Finn back to Ann Arbor. Hannah did not come home this time because she did a road trip with a friend to New York. They drove through Philadelphia. They stopped in Philadelphia overnight and then took the train from Philadelphia to New York City. Hannah had been to New York City, but she was about 8 at the time, and it was a very quick trip, and she doesn't remember much of it. So really this was her first trip to New York where she really was able to see things. I haven't talked to her much about it since she came back, but just from looking on social media, looked like she had a good time. The reason for the trip was she had tickets to Hadestown, and she is huge into musicals, loves acting, and she just was thrilled to be able to see Hadestown. She said it was life-changing to be able to see that on Broadway. That was her first time, like I said, in New York, seeing anything on Broadway. So that was just absolutely amazing for her, and I'm so glad that she had the opportunity to do that. But yeah, we won't, so we didn't get to see her over fall break, but that's okay. That definitely was worth not coming home for. So that's pretty much it around here. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say or to update you on, so I will leave you here. Hopefully just 2 weeks till the next episode. I should have, I'm hoping, maybe close to a finished pair of socks with those robin socks, and we'll see how much I can get done on the sweater body. And yeah, like I said at the beginning, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. It's the Sensible Stitcher. On Ravelry, I am Deb Mom of 3. 3 is in the number 3, the digit. And then, yeah, so hopefully we'll see you soon and have a great couple of weeks. Bye.